Hello everyone! I hope you all doing well and that you are killing your October TBRs or having fun with all the really awesome and amazing fall or Halloween readathons or whatever is going on right now. It's crazy, right? Okay, October is almost over, so we gotta hurry up and finish all these TBRs and our videos. So I'm very excited to be here today because I think I'm about halfway through my TBR. And of course, we have INDIGATHON coming up for November. Yay! And I'll link down below and also up here to Michelle and Brody's INDIGATHON video. So yeah, let's all get ready for that. We're very excited. So okay, today I will be discussing my very bookish thoughts, likes, and loves of Mongrels, who is written by an Indigenous author, Stephen Graham Jones. Do the Scoden. Alrighty. Hello everyone. Hello. Salutations. Welcome. Vitsuave. I'm so glad you guys are all here on this awesome fall day. Yay! Isn't fall awesome? Seeing all the beautiful, colorful transitions that are happening out there right now, from warm to chilly, from green to reds, oranges, and whatever, and short pants to hoodies. Yeah! Especially the hoodies. Love wearing hoodies. So, speaking of transitions. So, quick snap recap. Mongrels, written by Blackfeet native Stephen Graham Jones, is a coming-of-age horror creature feature story about a young boy/teen who lives with his family of werewolves. And it follows their kind of chaotic and nomadic paycheck-to-paycheck lifestyle and escapades across perilous American South. This story of a paranormal family and their history and their familial bonds is amazing. Stephen Graham Jones paints a whole decade long picture of close calls, survival, brutal, and finally that brilliant how-to journey of how to survive as a werewolf, and taking a look at this young boy's transition from boy to young man or pup to a possible werewolf. This book was amazing, people. The horrific raw details were incredible. The terror was top-notch, but it was a terror not that was focused so much on the werewolves, but terror that highlighted all of humanity and not just those of werewolves. The book very much avoids that pitfall of recycling a heightened werewolf plot, but instead really focuses on the awesome character development and their plight and difficulty in surviving in a world that's dangerous for them, and a world that itself that they go through that is completely horrifying and crazy, especially for their kind. That world building that was in this book, wow, it was absolutely awesome. The werewolf knowledge, the werewolf stories, the history, the terror, the mythology added so much to that connection and that strength of that bond building between the in or within the family of these werewolves. It also created or not created, but also laid the foundation of why those bonds and that loyalty and love and protection is very much essential to their survival. The humor, even the dark humor and the character development was phenomenal, and even at times grim, but it was really cool and very engaging. The werewolf teachings in this book were very original. They were unique. I love the part where the narrator states pantyhose is murder. So I'm going to read. Where pants will tear away, split over thigh and calf, burst at the waist no matter how double riveted they are, your fancy pantyhose, your stretch pants, they wolf out with you. I imagine you look kind of stupid with your legs all sheer and shiny, but anybody who laughs, you just rip their throat out. Feast on their heart. Problem solved. At least until morning when you shift back. Just like the tick that impacted itself into Grandpa's skin, a pair of pantyhose, they'll retract with your legs. Except instead of one tick embedding itself in your skin, flaring into some infection, this time every hair is pulling something back in with it. What happens is your skin, your human skin, is part pantyhose now. Like the hose have melted onto you, but deeper than deep. And because you just used all of your calories shifting back, it's not easy like on television. And because you're hurt, now you probably can't go back to wolf yet. Can't get tough enough to sustain this kind of all over injury. So that was really cool. And it goes on to talk about how that death itself, it's slow and it's extremely painful. And the narrator, he describes that maybe you can pick up some of it, like pull it out with your teeth, but you'll never get it all. But if you're lucky, your own werewolf family will just simply put you out of your misery. And throughout the book, there's some serious highlights of and pretty innovative ways you can die, like not taking out the trash, French fries, or driving while you are a wolf because something like a steering wheel or a stick shift isn't made for wolf paws or claws. So we also see the horror of the werewolf itself, but yet the unique and detailed realities of this creature with its own dangers, legends, and even really cool culture. And then there's this narrator, the slow burn of seeing if he's going to transition or become a werewolf or not is so good. The reality of whether this future and this teaching that Libby and Darren, the aunt and uncle are preparing him for, may not even happen. And that tense revelation itself and the boy's journey, that ending puts him in this really odd place of being mixed because he doesn't really know whether or not if he's going to transition or if he's going to just stay as he is. I weirdly connected to the narrator. It was really crazy. And that's what I also loved about this book, was kind of seeing some of those things reflected back on myself. Because as an Indigenous woman, I'm Tewahopi, but my father is Navajo or Dene. And being mixed myself was an interesting experience for me because I lived in both communities for a time. Well, mostly in the Hopi community, but for a time I did live in Chinle, Arizona, which is primarily Navajo, or it is Navajo. It's on the Navajo reservation, but I went to a school where basically almost all the students are Navajo. And I also went to a school that was primarily all Hopi, on the Hopi reservation. And I was this mixed native, and I felt weirdly not fully being a part of either community, but also not being in that group as well. Then briefly, I went back to Phoenix, and I was definitely an outsider, or I guess in this case, a mongrel, a native in an urban area of, or a suburban area of Phoenix. And even in those areas, you tend to seek out your own, but I primarily, most of the time, there wasn't a huge Native population where I was at, and especially with kids. So besides my own siblings, and this was way before social media, of course, I was mostly alone. And so I oddly connected to the protagonist in that way of kind of being an outsider. And I also felt connected on the social status part. Me and my family, we were definitely not rich. There was even a time where growing up, we had no running water. Our meals were very repetitive. So lots of beans, lots of potatoes. And it was a luxury to call something like in this book with the narrator, a honey bun a luxury. And I remember sometimes me and my siblings would share one pop or soda. We also lived in a trailer, a 2-bedroom trailer, people. Yep. 5 of us siblings in a 2-bedroom trailer, all smashed into 1 bedroom with the thin walls. And we also moved around a lot. I think as a kid, I was trying to think of how many schools I went to, and I think I went to 8 or 9 elementary schools as a kid. There was also this other really big connection that I had to this book, and it had to do with how in the story, how Grandpa and Derry and Libby were always storytelling, always trying to pass down knowledge to the narrator. That is very big when it comes to Indigenous cultures, especially Te Wahaupi culture. And one specific thing that I could think of was food. The baking and the cooking, and there are tons of ways you learn how to make bread and different foods, and there's also a lot of ways you can get hurt doing that. So for instance, when we bake bread in a bread oven, an outdoor bread oven that we have to plaster, and we have to put wood in there, and we have to light that wood on fire, and it heats up the inside of that bread oven, and we got to take all that out, and that thing gets super hot. There's like a million different ways you can get burned baking bread: by the fire, by the ashes you're taking out, by that wheelbarrow or pit that you're throwing all these ashes in, and the bread pans, the bread itself, the bread oven. Even the tools we're using to take the bread out, it's crazy. And that's just like one thing. And there's this part in Mongrels where Grace Ellen, who is, you guys read it. So Grace Ellen, one of the characters in the book, and how she states it's important to drink lots of water. So I'm going to read that right now. You're supposed to drink as much water as you can before you shift, Grace Ellen said, not looking up from the invoices and receipts. If you don't, your skin, you can start to get old before your time. I leaned back in the client chair, studied the tile ceiling, knew that I didn't even know how much there was to know. That was crazy because is learning all this stuff, but at the same time, he doesn't, or his aunt and uncle don't know everything. And it's because maybe they've been disconnected with their grandfather who passed away, or maybe the knowledge that was passed down to their grandfather also all didn't get passed down. So I connected with that because in the story, they're missing crucial information that could have contributed to their survival and their increased quality of life. And I connected to that, being Indigenous, that crucial knowledge that needs to get passed down. And like I said before, I'm Te Wahaupi, and I grew up on the res, but I just recently came back from the city like about 6 years ago. And because my husband and I finally finished school, we finally got our job experience, and I feel like now, like my real education is starting by learning about my culture, the language, because we're a lot more closer to it now, and closer to the people who have that knowledge. And now with things, I'm like, okay, like I'm learning so much all the time. This book was good. The ending wasn't this crazy plot twists. In my heart, I was kind of hoping that the narrator would become a werewolf, but I think I would have been okay with it if he didn't. And then finally, the narrator. And then you finding out that, and I actually wrote a tab in here where, I can't find it, but I wrote a note in here saying this just sounds like a journal. This sounds like a diary. And then the end, you find out he's writing about his family. And that's why you don't know his name, because when we write journals or diaries, we don't write our names. We don't say, oh yeah, Kim this. But I thought that to be really cool and really interesting, and that was probably one of my favorite parts of this book. I'm done. So I hope you guys are all doing really, really awesome. I hope you guys are safe, and I wish you guys very awesome journeys on your October TBRs and your readathons. And don't forget about INDIGATHON. Yeah, INDIGATHON's coming up. So yeah, so you guys have a good one. Be safe, wear a mask, wash your hands, and I'll see you guys next time. So Kim here, Native Lady Book Warrior, says bye.